You're listening to English with Monty, the podcast about the English language. If you're an English language learner, have a keen interest in language, or you're a teacher, then this podcast is for you. We give tips and advice and discuss topics about learning and teaching. We hope you find it fun and informative, that it gives you help and encouragement in your journey with the English language. Hello there, welcome to English with Monty. We're on our 8th episode today, so we're motoring along quite nicely. And I've got Gideon back with me today. Hello, Gideon.
Hello, John.
How are you doing? Are you okay?
Feeling fine, fit as a fiddle.
You're busy, aren't you? You've got lots of work on.
I'm in Paris, and it's the busiest time of year. It's what the French call the rentrée in September and October, busiest time of the year. So yeah, I'm busy, but never too busy to spare a moment with you.
With the listeners, really, isn't it? I mean, there's been possibly thousands of emails about people saying, when are you next going to do an episode with Gideon? Here we go.
My pleasure.
Your fans are, I don't know, they'll be satisfied.
I wrote all those letters, John, I should tell you. I was up all night writing. That's why I'm so busy writing those from different email addresses.
Yeah, doesn't surprise me. Anyway, so today we're going to talk about the mystery of the word get.
Get.
Get, exactly.
Classic.
It is a classic. I think a lot of people get quite confused with this. A lot of English learners find it quite a challenge. And often when you look in a dictionary, I can understand why. I mean, I guess if you look in a dictionary, there's normally a good few pages, isn't there, focusing on the word get.
Get a lot of mileage out of get, many lessons, yeah. Get is my rent, I could say.
Indeed, it does definitely pay the rent, doesn't it? I mean, it is a challenging word, but I think actually it's relatively simple, isn't it?
I agree with you.
It's just breaking it down, I think, into different elements and giving a few examples. So that's what I wanted to do with you today. And also as well, I wanted to give you some challenges, some very small challenges against the clock.
Okay. Oh no.
Yeah. So, but I think
Should I be nervous?
No, I think you should be fine. I don't think you'll have any trouble. I think you'll rise to the challenge as you're a very knowledgeable chap. You know, normally you're pretty quick, especially in the morning after your coffee.
Yeah,
so
I've had about 3 cups of coffee this morning just to prepare myself for this podcast. So
glad you did. You needed them, I think. Okay, let's have a look at a few different expressions or phrases to give an idea to the listeners how get is used. So we're using a bit of a prop from ef.co.uk. So we're kind of going to have a look at what they're talking about. First of all, going to start off with the idea of get, which means either to obtain, to receive something, or to buy something.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, would it be fair to say this is probably the most commonly used way of get?
I would say so, yes. Well, also, I think you'll come to become as well. Meaning of become is also very common, but this is certainly very, very common.
Certainly up there, isn't it? I guess if we're splitting it down into 3 different ideas, so if we focus on obtain first of all, so for example, I got my passport last week. That's obviously sent away to get a passport or to receive a passport, to obtain a passport in this case, I guess, isn't it? You actually have it physically in your hands.
Yeah.
What about the one with the driving license?
So yeah, I got my driving license. So that could be an obtain. Because the thing about get is I think it's a little bit ambiguous, which is not a bad thing, because I got my driving license could mean that you went out and obtained it or you received it through the post. So it has both those meanings, doesn't it?
It does, doesn't it? Because you've kind of, yes, in both contexts, it could be obtained or received depending on what you're talking about, really, isn't it? That's why I guess it's good to do this kind of section together, isn't it, really? Because there is kind of that crossover, isn't there?
Yes.
Then if we're talking purely about receive, so for example, I got a letter from my friend in Italy.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that means I received it through the post. You know, you could say that for email as well. I guess that's more common nowadays, isn't it, really, in terms of a modern context.
Yeah, maybe this page is a bit old. Yes, but I don't remember the last time I received a letter from a friend in Nigeria or anywhere else about her.
Well, you get a bill though. People still
The
get
bills
bills.
carry on. The bills, yeah, they carry on sending the bills. That's true.
That's a curious one, isn't it? The next one.
He gets $1,000 a year from his father.
Yeah, that's very nice, isn't it?
So to receive, that's another meaning of to receive.
Yeah, definitely. I'm going to get you a coffee next time I see you.
I do think that's an interesting statement. Well, thank you, but I think that's an interesting statement. Can mean go and obtain coffee, or it can mean buy a coffee. Couldn't it? I'll get the coffee for you just at the counter. Or I'm going to get a coffee for you. I'll buy you a coffee.
The idea was that I was going to buy you one, though.
But that's what I would understand. Firstly, yeah, that it could mean something else. With get, there's always another possibility. But yeah, context is very important.
Yes, it is very important. But, I mean, obviously next time if you buy me a coffee, then I'll carry your coffee for you. So,
okay, fair point.
Let's move on to the next part. This one, I think, is possibly one that people don't use so often, or that people don't really know so much. I guess the first one that we've talked about with obtain, receive, and buy is more common. People hear it more. Maybe this one, in terms of reach or arrive at a place, is less common in terms of usage from non-native English speakers. So how are you getting home tonight?
Yeah, I think it's interesting because students often make the mistake of saying, how are you going home? And get has the idea of going and arriving at the place. Going has the idea of leaving the place. Okay, I'm going to go soon. I'll get home at about 6 p.m.
You would say that for arriving at work, wouldn't you? So I normally get to work at 9 a.m. I think a lot of people would use the more formal verb to say arrive, wouldn't they? They would say, I arrive
precisely.
at work.
Which, of course, is okay, but native speakers often will resort to get.
I mean, I guess we wouldn't generally use arrive in this context, would we? Because it sounds a bit more formal. It sounds a bit like you have been on a journey, doesn't it? There is a good reason why when you go to an airport, it says arrivals, because it's a bit more a destination. You arrive at a destination, whereas it's a bit different going to work, isn't it? 'Cause it's not really a journey.
I agree. It's used for everyday situations. I mean, you could say I arrived late from work, but most people would say I got home late. So if it's an everyday situation, sometimes you want to elevate the language and you'll use different vocabulary. Yeah, it gets more common.
Also, as well, I guess if we're going to be talking about reach, I would probably say in terms of physical reach, which there isn't really an example here, but for example, if you're not very tall and you have a book on the top shelf of your bookcase, then you can say, I can't reach the book, or I can't get the book.
I would say that in this case, get is a synonym of fetch as well as reach. You could say reach or fetch, because I'm going to get Mary from the station. I'm going to fetch Mary from the station. So it means go and bring it back from a place.
I mean, how often would you use that? I mean, personally, I would probably only use it with a dog. Would you use it to fetch somebody?
Well, I think because fetch is replaced so much by get that we don't use it as often. But no, I would use it sometimes. Fetch that thing from across there. Can you get it? Because it can be almost in every case be replaced by get. But of course, speaking all the time, you're writing, you don't want to use get. So you do need to know these synonyms as well. The other words too, not to sound too repetitive, but get in every sentence. Have both in your armory.
I mean, I guess that's the key, isn't it? When you're writing, you don't really want to use it constantly, do you? So you need to have that variation, don't you? So that it kind of breaks things up and then your writing flows better as well.
Definitely. I think the overuse of get, I mean, if you're speaking, okay, get away with it in informal conversation. But yeah, once you start writing formally, yeah.
You probably need to avoid it to some extent, don't you?
To some extent. You still use it, but just much less.
Yeah. Were there any more examples with that aspect that you wanted to talk about? Or do you think we've covered everything?
That's okay for me. You carry on.
Okay, well, we'll move on to the one that you mentioned earlier. So to become, I suppose here it says as well to show a change of state. For example, I could give this example. I'm adapting it slightly. You're getting older.
We're all getting older.
Well, it doesn't say older, does it? But yeah, old. You're getting
Yes,
old.
I think you can substitute the word get in most of the examples you're going to give with become, couldn't you? I'm becoming old. I'm getting old. It is a synonym of become.
We wouldn't usually say I become unless maybe you're giving it more gravity, kind of making
Yeah,
it
exactly.
more of a thing, aren't you? Something to emphasize. You might say to me, "Oh, John, I'm getting old. I've forgotten a few things." Whereas if you say I'm becoming old, my ears are falling off, or something like that, it's kind of more serious in a way, isn't it? It's highlighted more.
I think just sometimes you won't use get. You want to give a little flourish to the language or something. You'll use become or another verb, but get is so common though, isn't it?
And then I guess in terms of a change of state, which one could we use there?
Change of state. Well, I think become indicates a change of state. So the next one is it's getting hotter. So it was cold. It's now hot. And there's a change there. You're heating something up in a kettle. So it's getting hotter. The water's getting hotter. From a change of state, we don't mean that I went from France to Switzerland or something. No, not that kind of change of state. Bad joke.
If I hadn't eaten a nice bowl of porridge this morning, I would be getting hungry.
Getting hungry. Your jokes, the same jokes all the time, John. I'm getting tired of those.
Oh.
Not really. It's just an example. I love your sense of humour. All the listeners do too. Well, most of them.
I know.
A few of them, anyway.
They frequently write in and tell me, but again, maybe that was you. Not sure.
Yeah.
Hopefully, that's given a good few examples. I mean, we kind of skirted over a few of them, but yeah, I mean, maybe other examples.
Give a couple more examples. Getting dark.
So yeah, it gets dark very early in the winter. Is one example here, and don't touch the stove until it gets cool.
You insulted me, and I'm getting angry.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
No, just example.
Okay, good.
Good example.
It is a very good example. I mean, the way you said it was real emotion. That's why I answered in that way. I was a bit worried. Okay, so if you do have any questions about these, do let us know. I mean, the world of get is quite a wide world, and those are the main examples that we wanted to focus on. You've reached the midpoint of the podcast, and we thought we'd ask you a quick quiz question about which words in the English language do not rhyme. So that question again, about which words in the English language that do not rhyme? There are 4 of them. Do you know any of them? We'll answer your question at the end of the podcast, so stay tuned. Now I'm going to move quickly on to the idea of phrasal verbs. I'm going to test you, give you a small test, Gideon. First of all, though, can you tell me what a phrasal verb is?
A phrasal verb, it's a verb in 2 or 3 parts, maybe, or even 4 parts, but usually 2. So you have the verb part, and that's followed by preposition or adverbial particle. And the thing about a phrasal verb is often you can't tell the meaning from the context. So walk up is not really a phrasal verb. It's a prepositional verb. To get by is a phrasal verb. You can't really understand it from the context.
I guess it's also to do with the fact that it changes the general meaning of the word get, doesn't it?
Yeah.
In this
preposition
context.
Changes the meaning.
Yeah, exactly. So it's not just talking about obtain, reach, and all these examples that we're talking about before. It gives a variation on that, doesn't it?
Yes.
My challenge for you, and don't cheat, because I know it's very easy to cheat, just off the top of your head.
Okay.
I'm going to give you 10 seconds to name 5 phrasal verbs with get.
Oh, okay. Starting when?
I don't. Well, I'll give you.
Is there a countdown?
Yeah, I'll give you a bit of a build up to it so that you can prepare yourself a little bit. And even now, you might be mentally preparing yourself because I've only just sprung it upon you. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
3, 2, 1, go.
I'm thinking I get by. I mentioned that one. To get rid of something, to get away with something, to
stop.
Is that it?
That's it.
That was only 10 seconds. I only just begun.
Is get rid of is not really part of it though, is it? I think that's cheating slightly.
That's cheating.
Yeah.
That's yeah, it has get in it though, and it is a phrasal verb.
Yeah. Okay. We'll give you that one. So,
but it's more about the rid rather than the get.
Yeah. So how many did you mention? Was that 4 in the end?
Can't remember. Get away with, get by, get around. Did I say that?
Yes. Yeah. Get around. Quite a challenging challenge, isn't it? The reason why I wanted to challenge you is I wanted to test how much of a native speaker you are and how quickly they can come out of your mind. But, I mean, maybe it's possible because you've been living in Paris all this time. They don't just come off the top of your head.
Maybe.
I'm giving you excuses. Maybe 10 seconds is not enough time.
10 seconds wasn't very much, though.
Okay, fair enough.
Give me an hour. I'll come up with 2 more.
Sure. So should we explain the ones that you spoke about first of all? So let's talk about get by. So what does get by mean?
It's to manage.
Yeah, usually it's in a financial context, isn't it?
Yes. Well, I'm only working part-time at the moment. Well, how do you manage? You've only got half a salary. Well, I get by. I economize. I've changed my apartment. I live in a small place now. I live out of town. I get by.
Yeah. So it's just about afford. So afford is another interesting word, isn't it? So you just about have enough money. You just about afford to pay your bills, have a few pennies left over to buy some tea.
Yeah. You
said get rid of? Was that your other expression?
To get rid of, which means either to throw away or not to have something with you anymore to dispose of it because you no longer need it. So, for example, to throw away, I'm going to get rid of the rubbish here. Okay, and I've got an old car. I'm going to get rid of it. I don't drive. I live in the city, so I'm going to get rid of my car. I'm going to sell it. So that would mean to sell it. So I mean dispose of it some way. The
other way it might be used as well, if you watch the Goodfellas or something, it's like I'm going to get rid of Tony.
Oh, so, yeah. Yes, okay. There is the sort of mafia element, which obviously springs to your mind rather than more readily than mine. But,
you're kind of putting Tony in a vat of acid, so you get rid of him, right? I mean, it's quite a slang expression, isn't it? In that sense, It's not exactly the same, but yeah, it is used. I was thinking of getting rid of a pair of old shoes, and you're thinking of dropping an enemy in a vat of acid. That just shows the difference between our natures, John. I think. Indeed, I might be worrying the listeners now. Just my time in Italy, I blame that. Okay, and then you said get away with. Is that right?
Yeah. Well, coming back to dropping your enemy into a vat of acid, but if the police don't arrest you for it, and you don't go to prison for it, then you say, I got away with it, which means you succeeded to do a bad thing without any consequences.
Yes, that was it, wasn't it? So 4 out of 5. Not bad. What I thought we could do, Gideon, is we could talk about a few slang expressions. I was thinking about this the other day and thinking about things that I might have used as a child or a teenager. And the kind of slang expressions using get. So the first one I thought of was get lost.
Get lost. I like that one. I use that one. Get lost.
Get lost.
Which means please leave immediately.
But
I can think of stronger terms. I can think of a much stronger expression, but I won't say it.
Yeah, of course. But I mean, this is something that you would probably say when you were a child, isn't it? More than anything. I mean, maybe to your brother or something like that, like annoying you in some way, and you're like, get lost.
That's right. Yeah. You've met my brothers.
But also as well, you could use it in the more official way, in the sense that I got lost trying to find my way about London.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
On the tube.
It's funny that when you said get lost, I immediately thought of the sort of idiomatic expression. But of course, you can literally get lost. And I'm sure you do, John.
On occasions, yeah. I do use City Mapper still in London. Also, as well, this is another one I think you would use as a child. So get a life.
Get a life. I think that teenagers and students and maybe sometimes adults would use that one too, wouldn't they? When you're complaining about something trivial, unimportant, And the other person's thinking, why are you even bothering? This is so unimportant. And you say, oh, come on, get a life. It's not a big deal.
No, it's
Like that. Yeah. Is that right?
Yeah, it is really, isn't it? Yeah, because it's like try and find something more interesting or worthwhile to do with your time and energy.
Yeah.
Also, as well, I mean, maybe as a teenager, you would have used this. You say, "Get off my case."
Yes, when perhaps your parents are telling you what to do, when to do it, who to see, and you might just say, leave me alone and let me do my thing, get off my case. Is that right?
Yeah, because they're trying to kind of remind you of something potentially, isn't it? Like kind of quite constantly, I suppose, isn't it? It's like tidy your room, make your bed.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, get off my case. Like, I want to sleep.
Are you going to now say that you can literally say get off my case if someone is sitting on your case and you want your case because you have to leave? So, hey, get off my case. I'm not interfering in your life. No, you're sitting on my case. Can you get off? I have to leave.
I guess you could, but you probably have to be a bit more polite, wouldn't you? So could you please get off my case?
Yeah.
So yeah, otherwise it's a bit abrupt, isn't it? If you say get off my case, there's definitely something you would
Unless there's something very valuable and fragile in the case, you may forget the politeness for a second.
Like, you've got lots of laundered money in there, or a couple of body parts or something like that. Going back to the mafia thing. Yeah. I'm going to finish off maybe with a couple more. I think this is a nice expression. So to get the hang of something.
Oh, I like that. Yeah, I like it. Do you want me to explain?
Yeah, that would be lovely if you could.
When you first try something, I'm trying to think of a concrete example. I don't know, making pancakes, all right? The first time you've never been in the kitchen before and you can't do it, but you do it a second time, a third time, a fourth time, and then eventually say, I'm getting the hang of this, which means that I'm becoming good, finally.
Because it's like getting an ability, isn't it, after some practice or a period of time. So, I mean, you could use this with the English language, couldn't you? You could say, well, I studied English at school in my hometown back in France, and then came over to London. At the beginning, it was tough, but now I'm getting the hang of speaking English. I really feel as if I'm making some progress.
And after this podcast, your listeners will say, I'm getting the hang of get.
Yes, exactly. Wow. And everybody will be repeating it. It could even be a phrase, and we could put it on a T-shirt or something.
Get the hang of get.
Get the hang of get. Yes, I like that. And then my final one that I wanted to look at was to get to the bottom of this.
Ah, yes, get to the bottom, to find out the truth that is lurking behind.
Discover the truth, isn't it? The real reason for something. I mean, I guess we shouldn't confuse bottom with the part of your body.
No.
It's kind of the opposite of top in this case, isn't it? You've got
exactly.
And then you go to bottom.
I'll give an example, shall I? Not a bottom, but so you're in a flat share. You've got 6 flatmates, and one day you find that your sausages from the fridge have gone missing, and you suspect someone or other. And you say, I'm going to get to the bottom of this. I'm going to find out the truth. Who stole my sausages?
I loved your example.
I think it was John. No, John would never do something like that.
No.
It was Svetlana. No, Svetlana's. She hasn't been here for a few weeks.
It depends who likes their English breakfast, right? I mean, they may have stolen your sausages. That is scandalous to any British person, potentially, isn't it? I mean, it's almost as bad as stealing your tea.
Yes.
We definitely need to.
Why would you steal tea, though, John? Why would you steal tea? Somebody's drinking from the cup. Why would you steal tea? You mean like just the tea leaves, you mean? The tea bags? Okay, sorry.
Yeah. Some tea bags, maybe. But yeah, I mean, perhaps you'd be a bit more concerned if somebody stole your sausages, a bit more miffed than somebody stealing your tea, because just one bag you probably wouldn't notice, would you? I think we've got to the bottom of get as well.
Yeah, I think so.
I'm hoping that listeners are more in tune with the idea of using get. There are plenty of other ways of using it, and obviously in your dictionary, you will find these different ways of using it. I think with phrasal verbs, it's just more of a case of slowly introducing them into your language, isn't it, more than anything?
John, can I add one more?
Of course.
It's timely. You can also use, of course, get to understand. So I get it. I hope that your viewers get it.
Yes, they get.
They get, yeah.
Yes, yeah. No, wow, I think that's probably the best way to finish things off, isn't it, really? I mean, you can get anything in this sense, so you get the present perfect as well. So we'll probably be visiting this again in future because I think we're going to get some mileage out of it using that phrase again with get, as Gideon says. So there certainly is other things to say. I just wanted to mention as well, you've got a new podcast episode out, have you, Gideon, on Zeitgeist Banana?
Yes, do listen to Zeitgeist Banana because we have a very special guest on it. This time it is you, John. Oh, okay. It's you. You're the special guest. Oh, and listen and watch our YouTube channel, Let Them Talk TV. You can give that a plug as well.
Yeah, Let Them Talk TV. Yeah. Also, a French friend told me that plug has another meaning in French, so maybe we shouldn't use that too often. I'm not sure what she meant, but
me neither.
But anyway, yes, I do occasionally watch your TV channel. I have to admit, I know most of the things on there. Your podcast, I think, is very informative. Every time I'm on your podcast, I do learn something new.
Yeah.
It's full of knowledgeable insights about the English language and also history as well.
Yeah, and you have a lot to learn. So
I do. I am quite an ignorant person. So
I didn't say that.
I appreciate you enlightening me with those things this morning. So thanks for joining me, Gideon.
And my pleasure, as always.
Yes, indeed. It's been a wonderful experience, and I hope to get together with you in a couple of weeks' time.
Hope so.
Tune in next time to English with Monty. Bye-bye. Remember our quiz question from earlier on about which words in the English language do not rhyme. There are 4 of them in total. The words are month, orange, silver, or purple. So that's month, orange, silver, or purple. See you next time.